Hey friends, welcome back to the Hometown Homestead. Today I'm going to bring you along as I refill my spices to avoid many of those questionable ingredients in the ones you buy from the store. We're also going to make some sauerkraut and shred up some cheese for long-term storage. So come along as I show you exactly what I do to perfect my pantry on a cold winter day. Maltodextrin, MSG, and food starch are three of the main ingredients in the traditional ranch dressing packet that you purchase at the store. Now, I'm super picky about what goes into the food that I'm feeding my kids. So, since we love a soup that contains a powdered ranch dressing mix, I decided to make my own. Now, the ingredients needed to make this are powdered buttermilk, parsley, dill, onion powder, onion flakes, garlic powder, salt, pepper, and chives. So yeah, I'm not adding the MSG. I'm not adding any starch or anything of the kind. Now, if you like the full recipe for anything that you see me blending up here, I will be putting that down in the description so you can access that. And I do have plans for a blog going forward where all of these recipes will be found online. If you're watching this down the road and you happen to see a blog link there, I'll make sure to move all of the recipes over so everybody can see exactly what to do and reference them as needed, because I know that's a little easier than searching back through YouTube videos. I find this ranch is super versatile because you can do everything from add it to a recipe, which is what we do that calls for that envelope, to making your own ranch dressing for salads, or even making a dip for vegetables. So it's a really nice one to have on the shelf when you need to be able to have that flexibility and use one recipe for multiple things. Now, here in my kitchen, or at our house, I should say, I grow my own garlic. And one thing that I did this year was cut up a lot of that garlic and dehydrate it so that I can make fresh garlic powder. Now, during that process, I ground up just a little bit the first time and it ended up caking in my jar. So, what I decided to do is just blend up small amounts at a time. And this has been super successful. And I will tell you, this tastes way better than anything you buy at the store because it's super potent and fresh. The other thing I will just point out here, this little spice grinder is the workhorse of my kitchen. I use it all the time, from grinding up my own garlic, as you're seeing here, to mixing up variable other things. I like to grind my own fresh pepper, and I love how fine it grinds all of the spices. You can see there the dust, that's why that little cover is there actually, so the dust stays in. But I wanted to show you exactly how fine that it does grind. If you're interested in a spice grinder, I'll make sure to leave the link down in my comments. It's like just over $20, I think. So relatively inexpensive to add something that functional to your kitchen. It's also great for coffee if you like your own fresh ground coffee. All right, so I'm pouring up the garlic and then going to go ahead and add it into my recipe so I can finish off this powdered ranch. I mixed this full recipe up in a pint jar, but I actually needed a smaller jar for storage. Now, of course, I could have kept it in the larger one, but my pantry space comes at a premium price, so I'm going to move it over to a smaller jar here for storage. The reason I don't mix it in that smaller jar to begin with is because it's hard to get that quantity and stir it up or shake it well, and so I like the spice of the pint jar. Here you see me writing on the details of how I'm going to use this for the replacement of a packet of ranch. If you often use it to make the dip or something else, or wanted to put extra recipes on there, you can definitely do that. I just use a Sharpie and then I will use like rubbing alcohol or something to take it off at the time. I have used the wet erase markers before, and that works well until your hands get wet. So definitely go with something a little stronger or find an alternate route for your labeling. Now, this is something that we love at our house. We love cheese, and I buy it in 5-pound blocks. The reason I do that is because I don't want the added coating, food starch, or anything of the kind added to my shredded cheese to keep it from sticking together. And when you get a packet at the store, you feel that on your hands when you're actually touching it. And so I don't like that. I also do save a little bit of money doing it this way. I buy my 5-pound blocks from Azure Standard. And Oftentimes I will get a raw or an organic cheese, which I can't source locally, and if I would, it would be way more expensive. So I will make sure to put the link to Azure down below. That's also where I get the bulk of my seasonings. I did purchase them at Sam's Club before, but I like an organic product when I can afford it, and Azure makes that possible. So the majority of the seasonings and spices that I'm using to blend here come directly from them, and they have been absolutely amazing. All right, so now we're moving on to my chili seasoning. And at this time of year, you can guess, we go through that a lot. I use chili seasoning in my taco soup recipe, which is also coincidentally where that powdered ranch is going in. And I also use it, of course, just to make tacos or other things that call for that flavor profile. Now, you can get a lot of recipes online where they give you the amount of ingredients needed for a single serving. At my house, I do not want to blend up one packet of taco seasoning at a time or one packet of chili seasoning at a time. So that's why you're seeing me go back and make these larger bulk quantities. This will get me through a month often, or sometimes more, just depending on what time of the year it is. So if you're somebody who wants the larger quantities, again, I will put all of these directions down below. This chili powder actually uses basic ingredients that you probably already have at home. So this one should be easy for you to mix up. You need chili powder, cumin, cayenne, garlic, onion powder, salt, and pepper, which I'm grinding up here as you see. I like to buy the whole peppercorns. I keep spice grinders for salt and pepper over on my table. And then I actually just grind up those same peppercorns to use for freshly ground pepper whenever I need recipes that call for pepper itself. Store that over in the cabinet and I can pull it in whenever I need it. The other thing that is nice about having these basic ingredients is these are the same ingredients that I use in many other spice blends that I make as time goes on. Again, make sure to shake this up good, number one, and don't forget to label because this jar will look strikingly similar to the next jar that we're going to put together as well. Ask me how I know. Typically, you can tell, but you don't want to mess that up. So you want your chili powder to be different from your taco seasoning. The next job of the kitchen week is to go ahead and make some more sauerkraut. Now, this one, ingredient-wise, is very, very minimal. You need the cabbage itself, and again, I source this from Azure because I want to make sure it's organic. That is a personal preference. I do like to control ingredients, as I mentioned before, but it's not necessary. Making sauerkraut is actually something I had worked up into my head to be a little more of a chore than it actually is. Now, here you see me just sprinkling salt on top and going at it. But I will tell you, the recommended way to do it is to measure out your cabbage and then to add 2 to 2.25% of salt by weight to give the results that you're looking for. But sauerkraut is dependent on how salty you like it, or how much salt you add is dependent on how salty you like it. So for us, I just do a sprinkle of salt and get it mixed around really good. Previously, I have just shoved it in the jars to make its own juice in the jars, but I found that when I added this pounder and did it in a bowl, that it actually was a much simpler process for me, and my hand hurt way less than when I was actually using my knuckles to press it down and make the juice. So this pounder is something I grabbed off Amazon. If you're interested, links in the comments. It's definitely something that is not necessary, but added a huge help to making bulk amounts of sauerkraut in my house. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the lids on top of these. You don't have to have special fermentation lids, but I do have a couple that just fit on with my mason tops. And before I put the lids on, I did put weights down in there. You want all of the cabbage to be underneath the juice itself to make sure that it doesn't mold or anything like that. Then they set up on the counter for 3 or 4 days until they reach the desired flavor that you like for your fermentation before going in the refrigerator. Now we're on to our last blend of the day, which is going to be the taco seasoning. Now, much like the chili seasoning, the taco seasoning uses those same basic ingredients. So you're going to have chili, cumin, smoked paprika, salt, pepper, garlic, onion, and oregano. The difference is in the ratios. So this is why I said it's super important to label those jars because you're actually using all the same stuff. So if you are somebody who is interested in getting into making spice blends and happen to use these two, they're great ones to start with. One, because they're basics, but two, because you can make two different blends out of the same exact stuff. Now, again, you will find that mine is missing many of the ingredients involved in those packages that you pick up at the store. I don't have cornstarch, maltodextrin, canola and soybean oils, silicone dioxide, or sugar in this blend. So that's it. Pretty simple, right? You can do this. You can make these ingredients at home and then save a lot of the yucky stuff that you don't want in the food for your family. If you're curious how I use the ranch as well as that taco seasoning to put together an amazing soup that my kids love to eat, definitely make sure to stick around and hit the subscribe button for my week 5 pantry challenge video that will be coming out this Sunday featuring that soup. Now, I want to thank you guys for stopping by. I hope to see you back very soon. We have a very busy house and you never know what's going to go on. So from my house to yours, have a great day and we'll see you back soon.